What's up, you mutts? It's another episode of the Kevin Clancy Show. Today we're doing crypto, we're doing amnesia, we're doing aliens. We've got basketball beef. We've got racial backlash in the comedy world. We're diving into some topics with an agenda today, some things on the docket, because last week I had like an existential crisis about myself and about the show. And I'm going to only briefly go over that because it kind of is the point that I want to make here, is that in recent months, this show just kind of became like I press record and I just let it rip. And that's fine sometimes. And I know a lot of people are like fans and been around for the ride and they're down to just listen to me talk. And that's cool. And so sometimes I use this as like a therapy session for myself, where I just put my thoughts out there. But last week was particularly all over the map. And after I published it, I was like, what the fuck was that podcast, man? That was all over the map. And I don't think it was all particularly interesting. And it was a lot of just me venting. I was like, what am I doing here? You know, the Kevin Clancy Show was a relaunch of Mail Time. And it was capitalizing on all these new fans I had from 1 Minute Man. And I had this plan of like, it's going to be long form interviews and interesting topics and weird, quirky stuff from the corners of the internet. And it was that for the first few episodes, the first, like, I don't know, like 8 or 10, the first couple months. And then I just started to fall off and you know, I'd be like, oh shit, it's Tuesday. I got to do the show. And I'd press record and just let it rip. And so, this kid tweeted me being like, you know, I thought this was going to be about like aliens and conspiracies and not just like another type of KFC radio. And it was like the type of feedback that I appreciate. I hate 99% of people just knocking my show and talking shit about what I do. But every now and then I see something and it's constructive and I'm like, and he wasn't just a hater, because when I replied being like, you know what, you're right. Like I got to get some new topics. And he was like, fucking dope. I can't wait to hear it. So he was like a real fan. He was just telling me like, you know, this podcast has not recently been what you said it was going to be. And I had this like attack where I was like, fuck. And it was like an attack, like professionally about my podcasting, but then that kind of bleeds into like my life, because those two things are now like intertwined. And I was like, I am fucking no longer interesting. I don't do anything intriguing. I got nothing to talk about. I don't know what's going on anymore. What's like what people want to hear. I'm lost. And it was like a little like midlife crisis for you know, my like social life, but also my professional life, where, and I'm sure some of my fans who are doing the same thing I'm doing can kind of relate, where it's like, you know, when you're young, you go out every night, you meet people every night, meet new people, meet people you like, meet people you hate, you're hooking up, you're meeting bartenders, you're seeing shit happen. Like on my way to the bar, I saw this fight, or I was on the subway and saw this crazy shit. And you're traveling and you're interesting, you're doing shit. And then you get older and you stop going out as much for whatever reason. You know, people start to have problems with drinking. They get hangovers. They drink too much. They don't like going out anymore. You get married and you settle down. Then you have kids and your life's entirely about your kids. And I was just like, I don't know, man. Why would anybody want to listen to me? And so I was like, fuck it. Like, we're running, like I'm starting over again. I'm gonna like get back on track here. And I started, it was late night tweeting. It was like 2 a.m. because I couldn't sleep. I was just staring at the ceiling being like, your life is boring, dude. What are you even doing with your life? I have these like almost like 7-year breakdowns. I'm almost like cicadas. Every 7 years some shit goes wrong. So I was like 27, 28 when I had that infamous quarter life crisis, where I blogged about it, being like, what do people even do? All I do is go out. I go to bars, I go to restaurants, and occasionally hook up. And like, what else do people even do? And here I am, like 7, 8 years later, I guess almost 9 years later, almost a decade later. And I'm like, that sounds way more interesting. I'm not even doing that stuff anymore. So I can't even use those experiences to podcast and talk about. So I guess long story short, as you get older and you become less fun, you feel like you become less interesting. So I was like, I got to travel. I got to pick up and go to LA and see all the people on the West Coast. I got to travel the world and experience all these things. And then I woke up in the morning. I was like, all right, settle down. I don't have to do all that, but maybe I just got to like find some interesting shit on Wikipedia to talk about. So that's kind of where I arrived in the middle. I don't need to overhaul my entire life and pick up and like move to the Maldives or some shit, go join the Peace Corps just so I have some podcast material. I just wanted to talk about some of the wacky shit that, we find on the internet. Learn some things and chop it up and talk about some things. So today on the back end, I've got an hour-long interview with Anthony Pompliano, who is like Mr. Bitcoin. He is Mr. Crypto, the crypto king. So we kind of do an interview that is Bitcoin and crypto for dummies. If you are like me and you're interested in getting rich and learning about, what's going on with Bitcoin and crypto and how it's going to change the future, this is the dude to do it with. He's cool. He's down with Barstool. He knows how to just have a normal conversation. He's not like a total weirdo misfit. So he broke down everything in basic terms, from how you mine the Bitcoins to how you find them and put them on the blockchain, and how the world's going to change and what it means for the dollar and what it means for your everyday life. So an interesting conversation with him. We'll do a little 1 minute man action, talking about what's going on with Kwame Brown, Tony Hinchcliffe, and aliens of the world. Oh, also a little bit of housekeeping while I'm talking here about the state of the podcast. The past few months, I've been doing 10 topics, 10 minutes. In the last few weeks, that's been an audio segment on the podcast, but it's also been a video segment that I'm putting on YouTube, because 1 Minute Man has been a smash hit video product for me on IG, but it's getting no traction on Instagram. On YouTube. And so I was like, all right, I got to make a long form video, because, that's what they tell you on YouTube. It's got to be longer, and that's what the people on YouTube like. And that's how you hit the algorithm and grow. So I came up with this 10 topics, 10 minutes thing, which is like an alteration of 1 Minute Man. Well, we've been talking to our new YouTube consultant, if you will. We have a new employee here who just knows all things YouTube and is trying to help us grow our YouTube presence. And we're overhauling everything. Right now, I've been trying to drive people to the KFC radio channel and the Kevin Clancy channel. We're going to merge that all into one. It's just going to be the KFC radio channel. So go subscribe to that. Don't even have to worry about the Kevin Clancy show channel anymore. It was small. It was growing steadily, but small. But we're going to merge it together. And 10 topics, 10 minutes. I'm just going to scrap and focus more on 1 Minute Man. She was telling me you don't need to invent an entire new product. We just need to optimize the one that's currently working, which is like, of course, it's like I had this smash hit video, and I'm like, well, let me just make another one that works on YouTube. It's like, no, fucking stick with the one that's working. So a little bit of housekeeping there. You can just subscribe to the Kevin Clancy, subscribe to KFC Radio on YouTube. And I'm just going to be putting exclusive YouTube content on there. So you'll get all the regular 1 Minute Man action on Instagram, like you usually been seeing, but I'll probably sprinkle in a couple new ones that are exclusive to YouTube only. So you can get all of the 1 Minute Man on YouTube, so that we have incentive to watch over there and grow that channel. So we'll get into all that. But first, I made a promise to myself to start talking about the interesting, weird things that go on the internet, and from the deep, dark corners where there's just fascinating shit that's going on. And so let's get into that today. This is the story of Benjamin Kyle, the man who lost his identity, the man who nobody knew who he was. It's brought to you by Bare Bottom Clothing. Bare Bottom Clothing is as much of a mystery as Benjamin Kyle is, because I don't know how they make these clothes. Like this right here just looks like, look at me, I'm just wearing a gray t-shirt, right? Wrong. I put this shirt on and it feels like I'm putting like silk on my body. It feels like if a shirt could be made of butter, that's what I'm wearing right now. And it's like, I can't even describe it. It's not like a performance thing, because it's not about like, I'm not going out and exercising. It's just soft, and it's got the gray and the blue and the maroon and the green, the navy, all these like solid colors that you need to like the basics that you need to have. They've also got shorts for the summer, which are again made equally of the right type of material. Shorts are tough for your boy, because and it's like the right length, like they're not too short for like the TikTok kids who wear like a 3.5 inch inseam and have their dick and balls hanging out the bottom. But they're also not like grandpa old man where you're wearing like, board shorts down to your knees anymore. So it's like the right material, the right length. And I'm not much of a shorts guy to begin with. It's like, what are you going to wear jorts? What am I going to wear? Like khaki chinos, like I'm fucking 100 years old. I can't walk around wearing basketball shorts either. Boom, the perfect in between, the bare bottom clothing shorts. Pair that with a nice, crispy, soft t-shirt or the long sleeve tee for those nights when, when the sun's going down during the summer. Bare bottom clothing. I cannot recommend it enough. It is my my go-to clothing line at this point for out of all my sponsors that I'm doing on the show these days. So go to barebottomclothing.com. And use the promo code. Let me get it right. Let me get it exact because I got a whole bunch of them. Use the promo code Clancy and you'll get free shipping on your first order. That's BEAR, like the animal. Barebottomclothing.com. Code Clancy for free shipping on your first order. Super comfortable. Go get it. Benjamin Kyle kicks us off on my newly refocused reinvigorated approach to the Kevin Clancy show. Benjamin Kyle is a real life Walter White fugue state from Breaking Bad. If you remember in Breaking Bad, at one point when Walter White was in a pickle, he was in a jam. There was no way out of it. He was going to get caught by Skyler or Hank or the police or the dealers. I don't remember the circumstances exactly, but he faked a fugue state where he said he, suffered from amnesia, don't know what happened, showed up in a grocery store naked and said, I don't know where I've been and I don't know what happened. And he blamed it on his cancer and his mind and got out of the jam because everyone was like, yeah, he just doesn't know what happened. Benjamin Kyle, it happened to him in real life, a fugue state. 2004, he was found naked and injured behind a Burger King near the dumpster in the parking lot. He was called Burger King Doe because they didn't know who he was. He had no identity, no background, no possessions on him because he was naked, no wallet, no ID, no nada. He was found by the Burger King employee, and he had like 3 fractures in his skull. He had been eaten up by red ants. So it was like he was out in the wilderness for, however long. They found him at 5 a.m. at a Burger King, and he had no idea who he was, where he was from. So they open up this investigation, and he's only got flashes of memories. He tells people he thinks his name is Benjamin, but with 2 A's. Benjamin. So he's Benjamin, and they use the last name Kyle because they just need like a placeholder in the hospital. So he's Benjamin Kyle. And at first he had no idea who he was, no idea what his name was, no idea where he was from, no idea what he even looked like. At the time when they first found him, he had cataracts in both his eyes. And for 9 months, he couldn't see, didn't know who he was, where he's from. Eventually, through charitable donations, he gets cataract surgery. Now he can see, looks at himself in the mirror for the first time and realizes he looks about 20 years older than what he thought he was, which is just fucking, first of all, obnoxious. Okay. Because at the time, he's 72 now. So, this is 15 years ago. I don't know. Let's call it he's late 50s, 60s. He's walking around being like, yeah, I feel like I'm 35. I feel like I'm late 30s, 40s. And then he looks in the mirror and he's like, oh, shit. I'm 55 years old. Fuck you, Benjamin Kyle. This dude was found naked, battered, bruised, suffering from severe amnesia, and still was like, I feel like I'm about 20 years younger than my body really is. Fuck you, dude. I live a cushy life compared to that fugue state life you were living. I got a bed. I got a roof over my head. I'm eating ice cream for dinner every night. I guess that's not really a good thing, but you know what I'm saying? I got warmth. I've got relative health. I take showers every day. I feel like I'm 30 years older than I am. This asshole was running around being like, I'm probably 40. No, dude, you're 65. So imagine that. Imagine being so confused and lost about who you are. You don't even really know how old you are or what you look like, barely know your name, and only had flashes of certain things. He did remember 9/11. He did know who the most recent presidents were. He did know he had like flashes of certain places. He was like, I think I was born here. I remember some like traveling here and there. So he had like these everybody has those memories where it's like, you couldn't like, it wouldn't hold up in a court of law if you were given details, but you're kind of like, yeah, I remember, I have a flash of a memory at this age or that age. And so he's got all these like silly things. He remembered eating grilled cheese sandwiches. He remembered being at the Indiana State Fair where you could get a grilled cheese and a glass of milk for a nickel or some shit like that. They gave him hypnosis and he remembered seeing nuns. So they're like, all right, you're Catholic. We know that. So just all these just like bizarre pieces that are really like so far from really putting together anything for real. And just think about the reality of that. And that's where I'm like, so this story here, I can't decide whether I think it is a medical mystery and then Marvel, or if it's some bullshit, or if it's, some made up shit. This guy was doing some dirt, needed to disappear, needed to start fresh, and just committed to the ultimate Costanza lie that, like, I don't even know who I am, because he could like allegedly could remember 2 or 3 of the numbers of his social security number. And it's not even like I remember the first 3 or the last 4. He remembered 3 blank 5 4 4 blank 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 blank. Like, why would you remember the first, the third, fourth, and fifth, not the second and 6 through 10? It's just things like that. I'm just like, how and why would that be the case? And, why would you remember grilled cheeses and nothing else? Remember certain restaurants that he went to. He had like certain names that were on the tip of his tongue, but that's it. He remembered like certain malls that he went to. And then how about this? He had a recollection of 2% sales tax. And they were like, oh, that's what it is in Indiana in the 60s. Like, what? Why would you remember some of these things and nothing major, like what your fucking name is, what your age is, where you're actually from? And nobody's got anything. It's kind of crazy to think about. We have little plastic license, maybe a passport booklet, and then you got this little piece of paper with a number on it that, most of us have just committed to memory. But, you lose those things, you get like clocked in the head, don't remember your social security number, and you're like a loner in life. Poof, you're gone. You're gone. Like the amount, it's funny. It kind of cuts both ways when you're trying to like apply for a house. You want to buy a house, or you want to rent a car, or you want to apply to go somewhere or get a job, and you need like 40 forms of ID. And it's like, oh my God, like it's such a hassle. I got all these things to, show who I am and that I exist. But when you're thinking about the fact that it kind of like runs your life and is like all that you have to prove your existence, it's really all not that much. Just a couple records here and there, a couple pieces of paper. And if you can't remember them or call for them, you got nothing. I mean, I think about the same thing. I said this on KFC Radio the other day. You ever think about how everybody on the planet is just about like 2, 3, 4, a couple minutes away from dying if they don't breathe? I mean, your lungs are just pumping every fucking second of every day until you're dead. And if, somebody just chokes you, smothers you, something falls on you, and you miss out on some oxygen for just a couple minutes, kaput, you're done. It's crazy. We're all like a smidge away from death. And in this case, you realize you're kind of like only a couple pieces of documentation away from being a nobody. And that's where I think you can get like these movie plots where it's like you can get disappeared, you can get erased real quick if somebody has the means and the motivation to just like make a number disappear, make a name disappear, make some documents get erased. Next thing you know, you got nothing. So I can't decide the story. So to wrap up the story, where it kind of gets a little fishy as time goes on, he works like odd jobs. He's in and out of homeless shelters. He can't get a job because he has no social security. So anytime he tries to apply, they're like, "What's your social security? Who are you?" He's got nothing. Like, we can't give a job to nobody. We can't pay you on the books or anything. Sorry. A lot of petitions to the government, whitehouse.gov, change.org, get this man a new social security. A lot of crowdfunding what's it called? Crowdsourcing and GoFundMe's and whatnot to try to get him some money to help him. Nothing really ever gets him back on his feet, but he ends up working like odd jobs, making a few $100 cash off the books here and there, and in and out of of halfway homes and shelters and whatnot. But, he makes an appearance on Dr. Phil and he's getting some media attention. And then all of a sudden the advent of DNA testing comes around. What gets fishy is that there was one woman who was really working on him and really working the case and made some connections to like what probably was cousins in the North Carolina area, I believe, like some pretty significant matches where it's like, all right, we've got a lead here. And out of nowhere, he cuts off all contact with her. Is no longer interested in being found. Now that's where I think shit gets a little shady. I'm thinking to myself, do you either not want to be found? Like I said, I think you were doing some shady shit and you want to disappear, or B, has your lack of identity now become your identity? You're getting all this attention. You get a lot of sympathy. You're going on TV shows. Your search for your identity kind of has become your identity and you don't want to be found. Is there some psychological shit like that going on? So he cuts off all contact and kind of continues to just live identityless. And but these guys keep on like trucking along. And then the identity, the DNA companies really start cooking, as to the late 2000s everything starts to unfold in the DNA world. And CC Moore, who is an adoption agency, adoption researchers and DNA researchers, they were able to link some DNA profiles and find out who he is. So 2016, Benjamin Kyle's true identity is revealed to be William Burgess Powell. Samsonite. I was way off. I mean, Benjamin with 2 A's? No, bro, your name's Bill Powell. Benjamin Kyle changes to Billy Burgess Powell. WPB. WBP. Just not even close. He was, though, accurate in believing. So the one thing that he did kind of remember is that he shared a birthday with Michael Jackson. And he knew that he was born 10 years before Michael Jackson, but on the same day. And lo and behold, he was right. August 29th, shared a birthday with Michael Jackson, but he was William Burgess Powell. He was raised in Lafayette, Indiana. He had cut ties with his family and abandoned all his possessions, including his car and the trailer where he had been living. His family had filed a missing persons report at the time. Police found out that he had moved to Boulder, Colorado, where he moved on a whim with a coworker and a drinking buddy. His birth date turned out to be one of the details that he had proven correct. And the reporter was able to find some social security numbers of him working various jobs. And then that was in 1983. And then there was no records until 2004. This dude lived completely off the grid for 20 years. I'm sure this drinking buddy and this random coworker, I don't know, they're gone. They're in the wind. And a bad night with some blunt force trauma, and you're left in the woods naked. I mean, write the fucking movie. Benjamin Kyle, the man with no identity. Some Born Identity shit, except instead of coming to and realizing you're an assassin, you're just some fucking schmuck from Indiana. But the story you can concoct around it. Why was this dude was it the coworker and the drinking buddy who turned on him and tried to kill him and fucking left him behind the dumpster for dead? Did he kill the coworker and drinking buddy and needed to pull some Walter White shit and faked some sort of incident? Was it just some man living in the woods shit gone wrong? Who knows? But the fact that some of the pieces ended up being true, I still don't know what I believe. The fact that they were able to piece it together and it doesn't seem like there was any crime or anything, maybe makes you believe it's true. But also, you live 20 years completely off the grid and you're not some Unabomber freak. Like, why? What? Why are you doing that? What do you got going on that, you need to live that way? That's just not normal. My mantra of be normal, being heavily violated by Benjamin Kyle, aka Billy Powell. You ain't normal, man. And then when people are not normal, they're being shady. There's some weird shit going down. It actually reminds me of a movie plot I once thought of. My favorite thing in the world is to sit around thinking of movie plots. I think my brain, you want to know at any given moment what my brain is thinking of? There's like 1, 2, 3. There's 4 main pieces to my brain at all times. 25% of my brain is thinking about getting the 3 gallons of water in the 5-gallon jug from Die Hard with a Vengeance. You know what I'm talking about? The challenge where he's got the 3-gallon bucket and the 5-gallon bucket. He's got to get exactly 4 gallons on the scale, or an alleged bomb blows up in his school. So every day I kind of remind myself, that's how I'm going to make sure that I don't have some fucking amnesia where I'm Billy Powell and I forget who I am. That's how I'm going to make sure that I'm not suffering from some sort of, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, also all that sort of shit. You take the 3 gallons, you fill it up, you pour it into the 5-gallon jug. That leaves 3 gallons of water, 2 gallons of air. You then fill up the 3 gallons again. You pour that into the 5-gallon jug that still has the 3 gallons. That means you poured 2 gallons out of the 3 gallons, leaving 1 gallon in your 3-gallon jug. Empty out the 5-gallon. Pour the 1 gallon into the 5-gallon, refill the 3-gallon, pour that into the 5-gallon. 3 + 1 = 4. Bam, your boy has still got it. My brain still works. Every single day, I remind myself of how to do 3 gallons in the 5-gallon jug. It's a good exercise. Some people do Sudoku. Some people do the crossword puzzle. I do Die Hard in my head. That's 25%. The other 25% is thinking about what I would do and what my story would be and how my conversation would go when I was on a late night show. Kind of becoming a lost thing. That's not really going to be a thing anymore. I can tell my kids, like, I used to think about what I would talk to Jimmy Fallon about, what I would talk to David Letterman about, Jay Leno about on a late night show. They're going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But I guess it's now I'd be like, I'm thinking about podcast interviews. What would be my interesting story? That kind of goes hand in hand with what would my Jeopardy tale be? Coming back from commercial, tell us a funny thing about yourself. I'd be like, yeah, well, one time I played home run derby with Big Papi, and he told me to take the bat out of my asshole and start swinging like a man. I don't know if they'd let that one fly. I'll tell that to fucking Aaron Rodgers after he retires, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, okay, it's a family program. We're on ABC here. Can't talk about taking bats out of your asshole. Thank you very much, though, Captain Clancy." So that's 50% of my brain is those things. Another 25% is usually like when I'm in the shower, running through arguments that I had Costanza style. How could I have won that argument from 10 years ago? How could I have roasted you? The jerk store called, they're running out of you. Those sort of things. That also kind of goes hand in hand. How could I win the argument, the mental and emotional fight? Also, how could I win a physical fight? Like right now, if like armed men busted in the door, what would I do? What would I grab to be a weapon? Like literally right now, I don't know. I got this fucking brick right here. I got 2 bricks with a little artwork. This right here is the City Island Bridge in the Bronx. This is Hawkins Park on City Island where I live. Anyway, I would grab these fucking bricks and I would try to smash you in the head with it. I would try to throw it at you, but I don't know. It's not exactly accurate. If these guys came in with a gun, I'd be cooked, but it's the only thing within arm's reach. I got some knives over there. I don't have a gun in the house. What would I do? Sometimes I think I think the best bet is to play dead. Sometimes I always dream about if they shot me, so somebody busts in, they're like, and they got like the silencer on, right? It like hits me in the shoulder. I would play dead. And hopefully they're not like trained to like, know to shoot to kill, where it's like, I'm just going to load you up. Hopefully they just, run around. Like, I don't even know why they would break in here, why they're trying to kill me. Obviously a case of mistaken identity where they think I'm, Benjamin Kyle and I have some sort of fucking documents and I've been hiding now naked behind the Burger King, but I would pretend to be dead and, almost like the Jurassic Park, the T-Rex in Jurassic Park, stay still so they don't kill me. Or maybe I wait until like they let their guard down or they put their gun down or whatever. And then I could pop up, grab the knife and stab them because they thought I was dead the whole time. That along, so the that's like a 12.5% winning arguments, 12.5% fighting the bad guys, intruders. And then the other 25% is coming up with movie titles. Movie plots, whether it's rom-coms or like suspense thrillers. This reminded me of one of my favorites because I think we're far enough out from 9/11 now that it's not despicable or really in poor taste to make movies around it. So if you lived in New York in 2001 and you wanted to disappear, you wanted to start fresh, September 11th was a good cover, you could use it to your advantage. Let's say, again, no disrespect to the dead. I know many people who suffered, who lost a loved one and all that. So no disrespect. We're coming up on the 20th anniversary. It's going to be waterworks. It's going to be an emotional time. But, let's say we write a story about a man who's in some gambling debt. Let's write a story about a man who got caught up in the drug game, who owes some people some money. He needs to get out. Let's say we got a guy who's trapped in a bad marriage, a guy or a girl who wants to get out from an abusive relationship and doesn't know how to. All of these reasons why you need to start fresh, but can't just do so. Let's say you work downtown. Say you worked in the towers. You were supposed to be there on Tuesday. We always hear the stories of the people who are like, I was supposed to be on that plane or I was supposed to be there that day. Well, what about the people who the story was that everyone thought they were there, but what if they weren't? So, you pop a tooth out, you leave it in the rubble, you put some ID out, all the things that William Powell, didn't have on him, you put into the rubble. Some identification, some DNA, some trails and tracks that lead, some story like, oh yeah, I heard he was on, the 89th floor that day. There's no way he made it. Everybody confirms you're dead. You're in the wind, man. It'd be cool. It'd be a cool story. What do you do with that new life? Or the bad guys are on to you still and they're tracking you down. It's kind of like some Breaking Bad shit where you got the vacuum repairman who gives you a whole new identity. So yeah, that's what goes on in my brain. And that's what this story is making me think of. Maybe this dude just wanted to start fresh and it went awry. Like maybe the guy at Burger King found him. Maybe he went a little too hard. He's like, I need a good cover story. So I'm going to get all fucked up on like ayahuasca. I want you to hit me in the head a couple times and I'm going to wander, and then they're like, well, they found you and now they're trying to find out who you are and they're trying to help you. And you're like, fuck, I don't want to be found. Who knows, man? The whole thing seems, what's more far-fetched, that there's some shady shit going on and some things that don't make sense, or that this guy was just like living in the woods for 20 years all by himself until there was some sort of catastrophic incident where his drinking buddy and his coworker are no longer around, nowhere to be found, and you have been eaten by fire ants, but you're still around and you can remember that your birthday is the same as Michael Jackson's, and 25 years later you get discovered because of DNA. The whole thing is mind-blowing. But the idea, I think the most fucked up thing that can happen to you is this idea of not knowing who you are. Like all you have in this world, like I said, everything else is artificial. You have a card with your face and your name on it. You have a number that is attached to, a series of letters that your parents strung together, and that's your name. I always thought it was weird that you don't get to pick your name. It makes sense because if you let kids pick their name, it's like Big Daddy, they're going to be fucking Frankenstein. But, you pick your clothes, you pick your style, you pick your outfit, you pick everything else about yourself, what you do, where you go, who you support, how you fuck, how you play, how you live, everything. But you don't get to pick your own name. That seems weird to me. I don't know what the alternative is. It's sort of like teeth growing. I think that the way our teeth grow into our head is completely fucked up. but I also don't know a better way. How else could the human body grow teeth? I don't know. That was a high thought right there. You ever think about that? Your teeth come in just a fucking wreck. They just come in all sorts of different ways. And we got to strap metal brackets and wires and pull them straight. It's like, why can't we just be born with like, whale teeth where it's just like one big thing? I get it. You got a nurse. You can't be chewing on your mom's nipples. It'd be destructive. You're a little kid. You don't realize that you got these sharp teeth. You're biting on your own lips and everything. You're too young to have teeth. It's like, you're not even responsible enough to have teeth yet. I get it. And I'm also saying, can't there be some better way? As a matter of fact, there's got to be some better way to do the whole human thing in general. The fact that we just carry a baby inside of a woman's stomach for fucking almost a year, and then you got to push it out, and then it's completely helpless for the first, like, realistically, like 7 years of its life. Other animals, you fire them out, they're like out there hunting the next day. Humans, they just lay on their back. If it wasn't for their parents, they'd be dead within 24 hours. It's crazy. But the idea, like, if you didn't have anything, you got no notion of who you are, where you're from, and what you do, and you're 60 years old, so you've made connections and memories and all these things, but you got none of it, that would fuck with your brain so bad. Because you could start fresh. You could start a whole new life. But deep down in the back of your brain, you could be going, this is, I don't know, maybe this really isn't me. Or what if you knock your brain and the new you is something totally opposite of the old you? What if when he was Benjamin Kyle, he decided to be some hippy dippy liberal, like granola, hipster hiker from the woods. And then when he does the DNA match, it's like, yeah, you're a fucking, you're like this conservative city slicker. Like you live in the, you're a city guy. You like sports and capitalism and, fried food and like hot chicks. You're the polar opposite of the brain of the person you just wanted to become when you had a fresh start. I think that's the ultimate question. That's what I'll leave you with here. If you were wiped clean, if your brain was wiped clean, do you think that the life you'd start to live would naturally match up with the one you already did live? It's like nature versus nurture. If you could start your life over again 50 years in, let's say, do you think that you would end up following the same path? Or do you think it all depends on, you're just basically like a newborn baby starting fresh again, and your new surroundings and your new connections, your new people are what, make you who you are? Or do you think deep down, maybe you don't have the memories, but deep down in those little synapses and those little, like, corners of your brain, there are certain things that are still telling you, like, no, here are your morals, what if the new you was like, I'm going to kill people. I want to fucking murder people. No, your brain would have, something in you saying, like, no, you're a good person. You want to go to work, make some money, earn a living, have friends, all that shit. But that's the question. Would your Benjamin Kyle, do you think, match up to your Billy Powell? Crazy. What a fucking tale, though. You can read up on it. There's a million articles. He did a Dr. Phil appearance. Just crazy. A crazy thought that you would lose who you are at that age. And even once you regain it, okay, here it is. Here's your name. You were right about something, it's wrong about something. And you just got to go back to your life. You spend every waking minute trying to be like, I want to remember everything. I want to remember my first kiss, the first girl I slept with, the first time, my first job, where I went to school, my favorite memories, my favorite sports. I would kill myself. I'd be done. You just can't. You can't. You would go absolutely fucking bananas. Let's get into some 1 Minute Man topics before we jump into our interview today. It's brought to you by Bloomscape. A little bit of life, a little bit of greenery around you can go a long way. Spruces up any apartment. What do I got? I got my kids' paintings on the wall here. I got on the wall over there, we got a resin mural, and we got Santorini grease up on the wall. And what I really could use is some lively greenery. And that's where Bloomscape comes in with young plants of all kinds, all different sizes, all different shapes. And it brings a little bit of the outside to you. I'm a team indoors guy for life. That doesn't mean that I don't recognize the benefits of being outside. Like, of course, some sunlight and some vitamin D is good for you. And of course, having some lively plants in there, you know, pumping out some oxygen or eating up the CO2 or whatever the fuck it is that plants do with little photosynthesis, it goes a long way. Not only on top of that for your own mental being, for your own mental health, but people come over, they see the plants, they're like, oh, this guy cares about the vibe of the room, the feng shui of it all. And not to mention, you got to take care of it. You got to keep it alive. You got to be a plant mom or dad. And that's where Bloomscape not only provides you with the plants themselves, but it gives you all the tips and tricks on how to grow your plants. They have the Grow How team to make sure that your plants and Bloomscape experience is the best it can be. For everybody who's ever wanted to start growing and have some greens in their apartment or their house, but don't know how to, Bloomscape's got you covered. A variety of young plants, accessories, tools, supplies, everything you know for your patio or your living room or the backyard or your office, whatever. Plants of all sizes that deliver right to you, happy, healthy, all across the United States. Go to bloomscape.com, promo code Clancy to get $100 off. Bloomscape.com, promo code Clancy to get 15% off your purchase of $100 or more. So buy any $100 plant, use the promo code Clancy, get 15% off that order at bloomscape.com. We begin with what I should have. I mean, I got to practice what I preach here. I've said this 1,000 times before on this very podcast, but there are certain topics that we should talk about exclusively until they are figured out, until they are proven true or untrue, or we know what we're doing. We know how to handle it. And it's these goddamn UFOs. We're sitting here talking about whether or not Tom Wilson should be, suspended from hockey. We're talking about, the final scene of episode 5 from Mare of Easttown, which was fucking fire, by the way. But what we should really be talking about are these goddamn UFOs, these UAPs, the unidentified flying objects, the unexplained aerial phenomenon. Have you noticed that, by the way? If you're keeping up with the search for alien life, you know that there's UFOs. We've been saying UFOs forever on the unidentified flying objects. The new hot shit is UAP, unexplained aerial phenomenon. It's almost like when we went from coronavirus to COVID-19, when we wanted to sound proper, we wanted to use the government name. It's no longer just Corona. It's no longer the Rona. We're talking COVID-19, the VIDI. That's the same thing now. You want to talk like you know what you're talking about with aliens and UFOs and all that shit? Say UAPs. Have you seen a little UAP action? Over the last year or so, the government has confirmed everything. There's every single event that we have footage of. They're like, yep, that's real. And every document they've had, well, not everything, because they kept a lot of it declassified. They kept a lot of it classified, but they also declassified a lot of it under the Freedom of Information Act. So like everything they know about the unexplained phenomenon in the skies, any sort of flying object, any sort of aircraft, spacecraft, they have been like, yeah, it's real. That footage is real. It's not doctored. You've seen it. We've seen it. And we don't know what the fuck's going on. They've confirmed that they have materials from a different planet. They said that we have materials from an aircraft that could not have come from this planet. All of this footage that we're watching, they're saying that these are aircrafts or spacecrafts that are doing maneuvers that defy the laws of physics as we know it. As our simple pea-brained human minds know, you need some force of propulsion to make you move. These things operate without that. There's no engine, there's no explosion, there's no force propelling them. It's just boom, 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 just zipping around. That's not from this planet. That's not how we know for the world of transportation and travel and physics to work. These things go up and down in a matter of milliseconds. Your plane's got to slowly ascend and slowly descend. These things up, down, left, right, matter of seconds. They disappear. It was on 60 Minutes. We're no longer talking about some crackpot in Roswell, New Mexico, who has some silly theories about aliens or it doesn't. What people are confusing, there's things being conflated. UFOs and UAPs is being conflated with aliens. That's not true. All we're saying is that these are objects in the sky that we don't know what they are. That does not mean that aliens are flying them. people are also conflating the idea of that it's extraterrestrial life when it could just be humans flying these things. Like the idea that we don't know, we haven't seen this means it must be aliens. No, it could be other humans, and that's the scarier thing to me. I want it to be aliens. It better be aliens. That would make a lot more sense if somebody came here from another fucking galaxy and they have technology that is far beyond our wildest imagination. But if the Chinese or the Russians have that and we don't, we are fucked, man. So the 60 Minutes special is out. We're not talking, grandma and grandpa know about this now. We got that on Sunday nights where it's gone mainstream. Okay. So I think there's levels to this shit. They've confirmed everything. They're talking about other planets. They have like Marco Rubio leading the UFO task force. They have confirmed otherworldly with the materials. They have confirmed the videos are real. They've said that the maneuvers going on are completely, out of our comprehension and understanding. So I think there's a couple conspiracy theories on top of the conspiracy theories. Number one, this could all be, it feels like the government is being super open, right? Like they're talking about everything. They're confirming everything. It used to be the old, I can neither confirm nor deny, or they just stonewall you and you don't know what's going on. Now it's like, sure, what do you want to know? We'll declassify everything. Check out this website. Oh yeah, by the way, we don't know where that's from. Oh, and this thing over here, that's materials that we've never seen on our planet. It's like, what are you doing here? So as always, things could boil down to money. Maybe they are floating this out there to scare people, to be like, there are aliens. We need Space Force. Give us more money in the budget. Maybe it's maybe it's us. Maybe it is us. Maybe there's the U.S. fighter pilots are like, we've never seen anything like this before. Well, maybe you're not supposed to see this. Maybe there's another branch. There's Area 51. Everyone knows about that. Maybe there's Area 52 where these guys are flying around these super advanced spacecrafts. And, maybe they're getting caught on purpose. Maybe they're getting caught by accident, but maybe it is already us and they have some ulterior motives for putting it out there. Maybe it could be the Koreans or it could be the Chinese or the Russians. And we are fucked because they're far advanced than us, but maybe they're confirming it, saying, if it's not us, it's got to be somebody else. And if you want to be able to hang with somebody else, we better up that military budget again. Maybe they want people to think it's aliens because they don't want you to think about humans having this capability or doing these things. Maybe what's a crazy thought is that maybe humans are more able to comprehend that it's aliens than it's other humans. Maybe they've been planting seeds all along in pop culture. I learned this when I listened to the podcast Winds of Change. The guys from Pod Save America produced that podcast. Remember, I talked about it a couple months ago on here, where it was the CIA actually wrote a song to inspire change and revolution in the Soviet Union when the wall fell. It was called Winds of Change was the song, and it was like all about harmony and changing of the ways. And the CIA wrote it because they were like, the best way to reach the people is with a pop culture smash hit. And so it was like some submersive type of like espionage. Well, maybe they've been making pop culture movies and TV shows and merch and spreading this rumor for the last 50 years to make you think all this shit is alien, when in reality it's all actually human. I don't know why. That the why is the problem. Why is all this happening now? Why are they being so open? Why it feels like we're building up towards something. And the biggest why does nobody care? Nobody cares. The reaction has been like, everyone keeps saying, until I see an alien, I don't care. Well, again, it might not be aliens. Until it lands, I don't care. Well, I don't think you're going to just land anytime soon. Maybe these are probes. Maybe they're drones. Maybe they're unmanned, but something's going on. My favorite conspiracy is, if you've noticed on the latest round of videos released, the aircraft is right around the horizon and it dips down and disappears. I think pops back up, then ultimately dips down and disappears. Now that could mean, I don't know, it's got some cloaking device. Shout out Star Trek. Who knows? It disappears off radar, disappears over the horizon, or is it going into the water? Are aliens not up, but down? They always say that the deepest depths of the ocean are as untraveled, uncharted, and undiscovered as the highest depths, highest highs of the stratosphere. Like you got tens of thousands of feet below or maybe thousands of feet, 10,000 feet. I don't know. What's the Marianas Trench? How deep is the Marianas Trench? Let's put a number on it right now. Let's take a guess. Marianas Trench. I'm gonna answer before I hit enter, so I'm not cheating. Shout out to Captain Cons, who definitely was not cheating the entire time on the dozen. I'm gonna say that the Marianas Trench is somewhere in the 20,000s, because I feel like they said like as high as Mount Everest is how low the trenches are, and I think Mount Everest is like 20 something thousand, 26,000 feet high. So I'm going to say Marianas Trench is 24,000 feet deep. Let's see. 36,000 feet. Wow. 7 miles below. How high is Mount Everest? Maybe I was wrong on that. Mount Everest feet, 29,000. All right. So, higher than deeper in the ocean than we are at the highest points on Mount Everest. But I mean, 36,000 feet deep down in the dark with the pressure. We don't know what the fuck's down there. What if aliens are just chilling underneath the ocean? They just hit the fucking water and bloop, 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 bloop. Go James Cameron on them. Just go, Titanic on your ass. Go. What if aliens are living in the ocean right underneath us this whole time? I'll tell you what, I think we're about to find out. Because something's happening. There's a reason why we're confirming shit left and right, and everyone's super lax on what's going on. By the way, just back to Mare of Easttown real quick. Mare of Easttown episode 5, the final 10 minutes or so. Incredible. I'll try to talk about it without spoiling, but also fuck you if you're going to complain about spoilers. I said that the final scene of episode 5 goes toe to toe with any single scene of True Detective season 1. Facts, period, stop. And I got a lot of True Detective fanboys saying, fuck you, that's ridiculous. It's really not. Because when you talk about individual scenes of True Detective, you have the 6-minute tracking shot, the one scene where there's never any cuts, where Rust is playing the role of the undercover. I can't remember that guy's name. And he's, going through that like trap house. Awesome. But that's more about like how cool it was technically. And your heart was racing because it was just like you felt like you were in the action. You were about to get shot up. But that was about like the, Fukijama, or whatever his name was. Fukijama is the guy in Entourage who designed the story. It's Fukinawa. Either way, the guy who did that. I also remember the Reggie Ledoux scenes, like the end of like episode 2, where Reggie Ledoux comes walking out in his underwear with the gas mask on. He was like larger than life. I was like, who the fuck is this guy? I didn't really care for the final scene of True Detective season 1 when they went to Carcosa and Rust was having his hallucination, and the Yellow King was like this, almost like this monster in like a scary, like haunted house. I was like, this went from a very real, tangible like thing to this completely like far-fetched, fake type of like supernatural ending. And then the very end, when Rust Cole all of a sudden becomes like, man, like maybe we all just living in the light. Maybe everybody's good. It's like, oh, okay, we're just going to abandon the entire like ethos of this character. Okay, great. So as far as individual scenes go, I'm not going to say, it's better than True Detective season 1, although there is 2 more episodes. So who knows what might happen. I didn't really care for the ending of True Detective season 1, but on the whole, it's the gold standard. But that scene in that house with the Winston cigarettes and the pipes and the cameras and everything that happens was as well done. It was very Silence of the Lambs-esque, I will admit that, but it's up there with Mindhunter. It's up there with True Detective. I mean, it was so well done. And the X Factor, as good as Woody and McConaughey was, Kate Winslet is fucking fire, man. She is fire as an actress. So go check out Mare of Easttown if you haven't. Also up on 1 Minute Man this week. I'll rip through a couple more topics quickly before we get into the interview with Anthony Pompliano. Tony Hinchcliffe is a comedian who is known for his show called Kill Tony, where it's like a contest type show, almost like American Idol, where he has other stand-up comics trying to vie for a spot in the industry, and they perform like a 1-minute set in front of Tony, who is the judge, and other judges, and they roast them and they critique them, and then in the end there's a winner. This whole thing that he really like puts on for the comedy world. He's boys with Joe Rogan and Brian Redban. Well, he took the stage last week and he followed up an Asian comic who introduced him, and he said, keep it going for this filthy fucking C word. And he mimicked his accent, and he's in a lot of hot water now. If you watch the 1 Minute Man, I kind of explained, if you listen to the full set of each comic, the first guy up was Pang Dong, I believe. Pong Dang. And his whole act was like, please be nice to Asian people. This is fucked up. Like, stop harassing us and being violent towards us. And then Tony came up and being like the aggressive comic that he is. He's like, fuck you. Please be nice to you. How about fuck that, you pussies? The problem is the language he used and the tone in which he did it, and the temperature of the room right now when it comes to Asians and violence was not the time to do that. It was not the time to be dropping, racial slang words against Asian people. But it did bring about this discussion that we've had a million times before about cancel culture and comedy, is that, is comedy kind of like insulated from the cancel culture world? Because what happens within a comedy club should stay within a comedy club. Some people are really angry that this 30-second clip got posted on social media because we shouldn't be recording anything inside the club, where everyone's paid for a ticket and knows what's going on, and the right headspace and the right vibe to accept what's happening and laugh at the jokes and not take it too seriously. But then you post it in the light of day on a Tuesday morning when people are being serious and they weren't there. They weren't a couple drinks in. They don't know the comic, and they're just like, this is fucked up. So one, should it have been filmed in the first place? Two, should post the entire situation in case the context matters. My thing is that intent and context always matter, no matter what. I've said that for many years when it comes to my shit too, and me being canceled. You always have to look at why I was saying what I said and what I was trying to accomplish with what I was saying. 100% of the time, what I'm trying to accomplish is to make people laugh and be interesting, be entertaining. Why I was saying it, that's the circumstances around it. Why was Tony saying, fuck this Asian guy? It's because he just was on stage saying, please be nice to me. And his angle was like, I'm going to fucking make fun of him for begging for kindness. I don't know. I wouldn't have done that. I think that was kind of weird. It was overly aggressive. I thought it was kind of a strange thing to attack, but that was what Tony was trying to do. Now, there are some rumors floating around. I did want to clear up that it wasn't in the video. People are saying Tony hired him in the past. Tony requested him in other shows. He requested for him to open. They're basically friends. This is not true. Spoke firsthand to Pong, who said, like, no, the only times I've worked with him was because it was at a comedy club that I regularly work at, and it was coincidence that we both worked that night. Like, we have been in the same room together. He did, I did introduce him, but like, we're not friends. We're just barely like professional acquaintances. So no, there was no like, oh, I put you on and I've done so much for you. How could you throw me under the bus? That's just simply not true. Now, but posting it, I think can be viewed as like, man, you're a comic too. There's kind of a code to this shit. You know how bad cancel culture has been. But I think the point is that he was willing to risk all that. Because if you read some of his interviews that he did with Vice or Vulture, I think it was, or even the conversation I had with him over the phone, he was kind of like, I was hesitant to do it, but I really felt like I had to, which I think is a testament to just how much like the line was crossed. And his point was like, if you wouldn't say this about other cultures, so why are you saying it about me and mine? I get it. But ultimately, while I think my feeling for this whole thing is you got to dissect it in its entirety before you go like, ending someone's career. Tony was dropped from his agency and Joe Rogan removed him from a couple shows. He's like it's like halfway right now. He's definitely taking a hit, but I feel like he's laying low. He's playing it smart. He's not saying anything, not trying to defend himself. He's just wearing this one. And I think he'll be back over, in due time. But I think, for me, the answer kind of is like context and intent always matter. But there's also something to like that, the gut reaction, the eye test, if you will, for sports, where it's like, everybody who looked at that tweet and saw that video, their first reaction was like, whoa, holy shit. It was not like, LOL, that's so funny. And even with the context, like I watched both sets in its entirety. I understand what he was trying to do. I understand he was saying like, yeah, you're being a little bitch boy, like begging for help. And I'm going to say, fuck that. I got it. It was not over my head. I fully understand. It still wasn't funny. It was just like, what the fuck? So I think there's something to that when, you know, and I've experienced it myself where I've been on the wrong side of it, where I listened back to myself or read back my own shit. And I was like, what the fuck was that? I think if that's your first reaction, whether it's a short clip or a long clip, out of context, in context, if you're not laughing or you're not like thinking, oh, that's interesting, that's entertaining, if you're just like, holy shit, what the fuck was that? I think, you missed the mark. Fans thought that. I think a lot of comics thought that. Maybe in hindsight, people involved thought that. But I think you can say, sure, the intent was to make people laugh. The context was that it was kind of a callback to his set. But it wasn't funny, and it was just like too aggressive. I think that all of that can exist at the same time. And I don't think it means that Tony Hinchcliffe is racist and bad and hates Asians or hateful at all. I think it was just that he totally missed the mark. And that can happen in comedy. You can't just say, well, everything is about making people laugh, and that's all that matters. There's some other shit that matters too. Last topic here before we go to the interview. Kwame Brown going off on Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson, and Gilbert Arenas. Kwame Brown was the number 1 overall draft pick in the NBA in the year 2001. He was 18 years old, drafted right out of high school to the Wizards. Jordan was on his second, third retirement playing for the Wizards, and just had was so tough on this kid and had such high expectations for him, put so much pressure on him. The theory is that they broke him. He was like, 6'11". He had the skills. He could move. It was at the height of drafting kids out of high school, and they thought they had another one. And Jordan, but I think a combination of like, there was kind of a gold rush of drafting high schoolers. And I think he was one that was not actually ready. And I think Jordan being as hard on him as he was, it was a recipe for disaster. He's been the butt of every joke in the NBA forever, kept his mouth shut every time. And finally this week, after Gilbert Arenas went on All the Smoke podcast with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, where they were just kind of joking about him and saying he didn't have what it takes, Kwame Brown just went off, man. He went off in what, I mean, a lot of it was like racially charged, comments towards those guys and kind of like clowning them for, not being black enough or all this stuff about, black and white. And I was like, all right, I'm not touching any of that. But I do think what was very interesting was Kwame Brown being like, I know that I didn't have a good career. His YouTube channel is called, I think it's called like Bust Life. He admits that he's a bust. He knows that. He's like, yeah, my NBA career didn't pan out at all. Didn't even really get started. But he made like $64 million, was able to buy a house for his mother, was able to let her retire, probably pays for like his entire family. And then you have like schmucks sitting on the couch clowning him because he didn't live up to the hype of the number 1 overall pick. It's like, yeah, man, you're not a Hall of Famer like some of the other number 1 overall picks. Still played for several teams, still had enough talent to get a couple contracts, play for a few teams, contribute a little bit. Actually, the funniest bit of all, I didn't put in the 1 minute man, but when he said that on the night that Kobe scored 81, he and Kobe combined for 82 points, and that he was setting the best screens of the entire game. Like a little bit of sense of humor, a lot of anger, a lot of articulate, intriguing points that kind of remind you that like, yeah, maybe you can make fun of me because I had all these expectations and I didn't live up to. But you got to remember that to even get to those expectations, you got to achieve something that 0.01% of people in the history of humanity can achieve. And by achieving that, you get tens of millions of dollars, generational wealth that you and your family can enjoy, whether you're a Hall of Famer or whether you're a total bust. So everybody clowning him, he was like, yeah, you're making fun of, this is a joke about basketball. Well, I'm clowning you for your real life. Because I got more money than you, and I got more success than you, and more happiness than you. And especially, for Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, Gilbert Arenas, the guys who did have an NBA career, there's some room to make fun of him. It's like, we know that was your dream, Kwame. We know that you didn't live up to the hype. We know that eats at you. That sucks. But for the Joe Schmo on the couch to be doing that, it's like, okay, so you never had an NBA career either. I didn't have NBA success. You didn't have NBA success. The difference is I got $65 million out of it. And you got fucking nothing. So for everybody, myself included, who's talking shit on the couch, for all the fucking Frank the Tanks clowning on guys on the New York Mets while they're cashing checks and living an unbelievable life while trying to do the most difficult activity in the fucking world. Just remember, in the grand scheme of things, their life, they are a life success. You, probably not so much. You want to make $65 million. You want to get big rich. Invest in Bitcoin. Invest in crypto. At least that's what Anthony Pompliano will tell you. Anthony is a guy I've been following on Twitter for a while now. He is, like I said, the crypto king. He is, you got to put everything, you got to always keep things in perspective. He is a huge proponent of Bitcoin and believes that it is the decentralized, let me just put it in layman, the digital currency for the future that is going to like take over the world. So everything he talks about is very pro Bitcoin. And I'm sure there is an Anthony on the other side who thinks that it's all about gold and the US dollar is still the most important thing. And a lot of his points and arguments can be refuted. But a lot of the shit that I have just seen from Anthony, I tend to believe in. I believe in the internet. I believe in the future. I believe in things being digital and everything kind of being connected, in that digital like internet space. So I believe it. I follow in it, but I also don't know what the fuck is going on. So I needed Anthony come in here to talk about Portnoy and Elon Musk and Bitcoin and SafeMoon and Dogecoin and Dogecoin and everything that's going on with the crypto world. So let's wrap things up here talking to my man, Tony.
Talk. You, Kevin?
Check. What's up?
Oh, there we go. Amazing. Okay. All right.
Talk, speak. What am I, a dog? Sit, roll over.
Dude, listen, before we start, there's only two fucks that are Mets fans that I know. You and this guy. Where is he? Right here.
So, let's go Mets, baby.
What's up, brother?
you both podcast all the time, man.
You both suck. You both suck.
Yeah, we both live in misery, man.
Who's your team?
The Yankees, of course.
Oh, you're a fucking scumbag. Are you a New York guy or what? Why are you a Yankee fan?
My entire family is from New York, and I lived there until December. Now I'm in Miami.
Oh, okay. So you are a New York guy. I thought I saw you went to school in like North Carolina or something. Did I make that up?
I grew up in North Carolina. You actually appreciate this. You ready? My dad was a Yankees and Giants fan growing up.
Okay.
And when I was like 12, I was like, man, fuck dad. I'm going to tell him that I'm a Jets and Mets fan.
I've never understood that.
Listen, hold on. You got to listen to the best part of the story. 2001 Subway Series. He gets fucking tickets, some great seats, whatever. I've got 4 younger brothers. He took the second oldest. I'm the oldest. Only because years later he said, I wasn't going to listen to your ass cheer for the fucking Mets.
Yeah, man. Fuck you. Fuck you. I wouldn't take you either, dude. I never got that. You can go one of two ways. If you are close with your father and he's a sports guy, you either, unite with him or you rebel against him.
Yeah.
But what's the rebellion? What, you hate your dad? Do you have a problem with him? What's the issue?
No, literally, I don't know why, but that was my idea when I was fucking 12 was to fuck with them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
All right. What do you want to do? What do you want to talk about?
Let's chop it up, man. All things crypto, all things, whatever. I saw like your latest YouTube video. You're talking about better sleep habits and whatnot. I saw the pizza thing. So anything that you're really into, but the main thing was just trying to dumb down this complicated world of crypto. And I guess my first thought before we even like dive into the specifics is like, what is it about? Like, when did you dive into crypto and make it like your, passion and your focus on everything? Was it just because you were like, this is the future of getting rich? Or is there something, about it that actually piques your interest other than the wealth that you can amass?
No, listen, I think that the decentralization for a long time, like you always lie to yourself about the past, right? And so it's like, how much did I really believe this before I actually got into it. And I went back and I saw a bunch of tweets from, I think it was 2016, 2017, talking about decentralization and like the system's fucked up and it doesn't work for people and all that type of stuff. And so I think I just naturally have always gravitated towards like what could solve that.
Mhm.
And when I first got into crypto, I actually didn't even get in with Bitcoin. I started mining Ether or Ethereum. As I started to learn more and more about it, it just became very obvious. Like, wait a minute, these people are nuts. They're literally destroying our currency. They're pushing the poor to be poorer and the rich are getting richer. And so like, here's the thing that evens the playing field. Like that sounds awesome. That's like a middle finger to the rest of the system. Let's go see more about what that's about. And now here we are.
And you mean when you say these people, you mean, politics and the Fed and the, just everything about the man when it comes to money, society, and politics?
I literally think most of the politicians aren't even smart enough to realize the ramifications of like what they vote for. Yeah. Right. So what I mean by that is like, they're like, hey, all right, so here's the deal. We're going to print a bunch of money. And they truly believe what they're doing is that they are helping people in the short term. And so I'm going to give out $1,200 checks, but they have no understanding of economics and the whole idea of like, it's like me giving you free money, but then raising the prices of all the goods around you. And on a net basis, you actually come out worse.
Right.
And so it's like,
but also, they might not understand it, or they do understand it and they're grimy fucks for doing it. But the average person certainly doesn't get that. They're just like, I got $1,200 more. And they might have a basic understanding of the idea of inflation, but they don't really see it happening and they can't really tell the difference. And so they're like, hey, you gave me $1,200, but not fucking really.
The thing that I think really changed recently is, Bitcoiners and other people like that have been saying this for a long time now, right? But now all of a sudden, Stanley Druckenmiller, who's one of the best investors on Wall Street for the last 30, 40 years, he recently gave a talk that was at USC. And he says the Federal Reserve is responsible for the wealth inequality gap over the last decade, or it's the main driver of it. Mm-hmm. And so when it goes from like what most people consider like the fringes of society, the Bitcoiners, that are kind of crazy and Luddites and all this crazy stuff, to now literally you have like the people who have benefited the most from the existing system saying it. I think people just start to wake up and like, wait a second, why are these rich people saying that I'm not getting rich because there's some like deck stacked against me? Mm-hmm. And so I think just more and more, you're going to hear that become popular. And eventually people say, okay, I finally believe you. Like, what do I do? And the sad part is there's just not that much for them to do other than, buy Bitcoin and hold on to it.
Right. Well, that's where, the idea that it's not controlled and regulated and it's all decentralized, like you said, I think is what appeals to a lot of people, especially like so much happened in such a short amount of time. And I think there was a couple things that, and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here is to break it down for dumb people like myself. But a couple things happened where, the GameStop thing happened, right? And then when Robinhood was forced to stop trading, and people who didn't understand the idea of these guys being in control of it and being able to pull all the strings, were like, oh, wait a minute. They fucking halted trading because they were going to get fucked, and maybe they don't understand who, why, what, how it all happened, but they understand the basic premise of like, these guys are always going to stop the little guy from getting rich and the rich are going to keep getting richer. And then over here, there's this thing where, nobody can stop it. Nobody can control it really. And I think that's where it's going to, that's where the revolution kind of behind it comes, right? Where it's like, oh, I don't want that to ever happen again. And now I kind of understand. So I think that this past year got a lot of understanding for people who really don't have, they're not experts in the field at all, but they're starting to get it.
There are no free markets left other than the crypto markets, right? What I mean by that is the stock market is completely manipulated. Right. And again, Bitcoiners have been saying this for a long time. There's this guy, the Double Line founder, I forget his name right now, Jeffrey Gundlach, I think. And he recently said like, look, the Federal Reserve's been manipulating the market for a long time. Right. And so when you start to get these manipulated markets, like here's a great example. In the US stock market, if the price of the market goes down 7% or so, they literally stop trading for 15 minutes.
Right.
If it then goes down, like I think it's 11% or 12%, they stop it again. If it goes down 20%, they shut down the market. They literally say, time out, game over for today. Everyone go home, come back tomorrow.
Right.
Bitcoin goes down 20% in fucking minutes.
Yeah, right.
Like it is a completely free market. By the way, it also goes up a lot in minutes. And so it's a highly volatile asset. Is there market manipulation around like the price? I'm sure that somebody somewhere is trying to manipulate whether it's Bitcoin or other assets in the market, whatever. But what I mean is from a market structure standpoint, no one's coming to save you. No one's coming to bail you out. And so ultimately what you get is a market where if you're right, you win. If you're wrong, you lose. And that brings us to GameStop. Like the retail traders who identified the short squeeze and then executed it were right. They deserve, because they did the work and were right, they deserve the profits. But this whole idea of like, we're going to cry and we're going to scream and yell if we're a big Wall Street hedge fund, and we're going to say, this is bullshit. We should have money. We shouldn't have these retail investors manipulating the market. It's just them crying because they got. Right. But when they get the retail investor every single day, retail investors aren't yelling and screaming and saying, give me my money back.
Right. Yeah. The deck is totally stacked against it. I totally get that. But I guess, so let me kind of back up, because I'm sure there's some people who, even the brief conversation we had right now, they're going, what the fuck? My thing is that when I look at all these crypto coins,
what do you own? What do you own first?
I own some Bitcoin. I own Hoj, and I just jumped in Safe Moon in case Portnoy, can make some things happen. But that's it. I'm not really interested in like, I'd rather,
you're like basically a Bitcoin, and then like, I'm going to make a couple of ridiculous bets, and if they work, great.
Yes, exactly.
All right. That's fair.
Yeah. I'm not, first of all, I don't have enough money really to really toss all over the place. And I actually, within the realm of these shit coins, the very little basic understanding I have of Hoj is that there are some things that make economic sense, as opposed to just like, it's a picture of a dog. So I was like, no, this makes sense. And then Portnoy, I don't know, did anything happen with Safe Moon when Portnoy made his announcement?
I don't know, but when I looked yesterday afterwards, it was down 6%.
Motherfucker.
But I think it might have been down more. And then he announced it, which, by the way, was a fantastic video. I got to give him credit for the video.
Right.
It had gone back up. It was only down 6%. So but I got a crazy Safe Moon story for you. You ready?
Yeah, hit me.
So a friend of mine, I invested in his business. He runs a business, nothing to do with crypto. I go to dinner with him about 6 weeks ago or so, 4 weeks ago, whatever it was. And at dinner, he says to me, hey, you ever heard about this Safe Moon thing? And I was like, no. And immediately I'm like, oh, this has got to be a scam or some crazy things going on. Yeah. Right. And he's like, I put $2,500 in, and look, and he turns his phone around and he's got $25,000 in his account. And so I'm like, oh man, okay, that's great for you. But like, I probably would be careful here, whatever.
Right.
He then screenshots me every single day for the next 3 or 4 days. And literally at one point he's got $120,000 in his freaking account. And I asked him how to get it out. And he's like, well, I got to convert it to this, to this, to this. And I'm like, this could take you fucking a year to get out of this thing. But $2,500 into a lot more money. And you can see that's why people want to go into it. It's just entertainment and gambling.
And so I think that crypto is much less about currency and money. Not crypto, more because Bitcoin feels a little more legitimate, but the shit coins, if you will, that's about the internet, man. That's about going viral. That's about the power of how many followers you have. And the same way that we can get people to buy t-shirts, it feels like if you play your cards right, you can get people to buy, invest in this currency. So to me, it feels like the appeal right now is that you just legally can pump and dump, right?
No.
No, but I mean, maybe not. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't word it that way, but you can influence markets with your internet.
I think here's the way I would describe it. So Bitcoin, I think you're right, is very, very different. It is one, very real, two, the way that it is structured, the social consensus around it, the proof of work mining, like all of that is an asset that is designed to literally last for centuries, right? It is the replacement to gold. And so I think you got to put that to the side, and you got to say, okay, this is a thing that is literally built to survive world wars, right? Then when you get into everything else, some of it is trying to.
Let me just stop you right there, just for again a really basic idea. It is Bitcoin is supposed to kind of be the digital the digital currency, right? Like that.
Yes.
If you're really trying to make it as basic as possible, this is the first, or at least the most real digital currency that we're betting on to be the future of
the native currency of the internet is the way to think about it. Right.
Yes.
Now, all of the other coins, projects, tokens, whatever you want to call them, some portion of them are trying to be very legitimate, right? They have aspirations to do that. They want to create innovation and new technology, but they're still risky, right? They don't have the adoption that Bitcoin has, and they don't have kind of the de-risking that Bitcoin has. And so there's that kind of second bucket. But then the long tail, like majority of things other than Bitcoin are absolute fucking entertainment bullshit.
Pussy and ass and all these, just.
By the way, I say the same thing about if you and I were talking about like, hey, what's in your investment portfolio? And you were like, oh, I own some stocks, I own some real estate. And by the way, I have this like bullshit gambling where I go to the casino and I bet on black, right? Now, gambling is legal, right? So like one of the things I always go back to is like, in the United States, you actually can go fucking buy lottery tickets and you can go to a casino, but you can't invest in your friend's startup for most people. Right. Like that's asinine.
Crazy.
And so now all of a sudden it comes around these assets that are not being classified yet. We'll see what happens as securities. And so of course people are going to go run into those markets and they're going to be throwing money around. Now, some people are trying to be sophisticated about it, but most people are literally buying, Dogecoin or whatever other asset because they heard that their friend bought it. They think it's going to go up in price and they may be in it for the memes or the laughs.
Yeah, you're in it for the ride, the fun of it.
What's the difference between betting on the sports game or betting on the fucking, which horse? Like Dave is a perfect example. He couldn't have done it better with the college selection of the different hats. Like that's literally what people are doing at home. 100%. Is like, all right, which team do I want to join?
Yep.
Right.
And as much as you hope your bet hits, you're also like, I wouldn't give a fuck about this game, but now I'm interested and now I'm along for the ride. I mean, my friends are going to live and die with every pitch or every throw or every swing, whatever it is. So you get the entertainment value. And at the end, you hope you make some money.
Imagine being a 22-year-old kid right now with literally $100 and you throw it into some crypto that no one's ever heard of before. And it goes up, 1,000%.
I mean,
you're talking shit to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. But then, so to go back to the idea of like the pump and dump, like if it's not regulated, can someone like Dave buy it, talk it up, sell it? And I mean, I guess you could do that with other investments as well. We do that with Penn, right? We tell people we believe in Penn, buy Penn. I guess I just don't really know. And I don't think most people do know what's legal and what's not. I was like, it blew me away when I found out that we could tweet about Penn and tell people to buy it or tell people we believe in it. And that's allowed. So I don't think I know really what the rules are of traditional investments and now like the crypto world.
There's definitely a graying of the line between what most people consider like traditional Wall Street, where like they don't talk about any of this stuff publicly. It's very kind of hush hush, and everyone walks around in their suits, ties, and wears cologne and tries to pretend like they're a fucking genius. Right. And then there's like literally the internet, like the Reddit, the Barstools, right, the crypto world, like all this stuff where people are just, the reason why I love Bitcoin is there's billionaires who are tweeting on the internet, and you've got a bunch of pseudonymous accounts that are tweeting back saying, have fun staying poor.
Yeah.
They're literally telling billionaires to have fun staying poor. They do not give a fuck who you are, what school you went to, how much money you have, or any of this stuff.
Yep.
Look at Elon Musk. Look at him over the weekend. He's tweeting all this stuff, and nobody knows what he's actually doing, right? So maybe he's on Team Bitcoin, maybe he's not. But literally, the second Bitcoiners thought that he was anti-Bitcoin, they fucking ferociously attack. They don't care who you are. And so I think that there's this element that like regulators are going to have to figure out, like, where's the line? Mm-hmm. What's allowed? What's not allowed? Right. Mm-hmm. And I'm not smart enough to fucking know what the answer is, but they got a lot of work to do to figure that out.
So to go back to the basics of it all, like, I feel like each of these coins, currencies, tokens, whatever, almost feel like a company in my mind, almost as opposed to a currency. Like it sounds like there's a founder of a lot of these, it's like, that's kind of a bizarre notion. If you're going to compare it to gold or the US dollar, nobody like owns it per se or founded it or created it. Right. But in this case, there is always a guy like And then there's Bitcoin with what's his name, Satoshi Hochikomi, whatever.
Satoshi Nakamoto.
So Satoshi Nakamoto, is that a real person? Is that a myth? Was that a guy who lived and breathed and now is dead? And was it just a username? What, like, how do these things come to be? And then who's really? It's decentralized and unregulated, right? But there's got to be somebody who decides that we're going to do a Bitcoin halving and all these things. Like, someone's got to be controlling it and making decisions, right?
So we know that you're not Satoshi based on the way you just pronounced his name.
or maybe I'm trying to throw you off the trail.
That's true. Well, it's working. No, listen, I think that the whole idea of decentralization is very, very new for most people, right? And ultimately, what ends up happening is when Bitcoin was created, in the beginning, it was actually centralized. And over time, it became more decent, right? Like, somebody or a very small group of people wrote the code for Bitcoin, and then they sent an email to a list of people and were like, hey, I created Bitcoin. Here's how it works. And then other people came in and adopted it, right?
So So when you say centralized, you just, again, in layman's terms, it's just, there was a small group of people who created this thing and that's where people.
Here's the best way to think about centralization, right? And decentralization is, if I want to shut something down, right? If I'm the government and Facebook does something stupid, I can literally go to their headquarters and I can shut down their servers. I can go and I can arrest Mark Zuckerberg, right? There's people to point to. You see it all the time. They call them in front of Congress, right? You got Jack Dorsey, you got Mark Zuckerberg, and they go and do the whole, dog and pony show. Instead, in the decentralized world, there's nobody to call. Like, there's no CEO of Bitcoin. Nobody knows who the founder is. Nobody knows who works there because nobody actually works at Bitcoin. Like, there's just nothing you can do. And so when you get in a decentralized world, what it does is, rather than be kind of combative to governments or regulators or other types of assets or companies, now all of a sudden it just says, hey, we're super peaceful. Like there's nobody here. It's just code. And I don't think that people are really ready for this, I don't know, fucking iRobot world where code runs the world and all of us humans are actually the dumbest species involved in society. But that's the world where we're going.
And is that just because, whether it was the one man or the small group of people, are they just the most generous, kind of not greedy people in the world? Because if I invent this shit, if I wrote the code, it's mine. You better fucking believe I'm controlling it. I'm profiting off of it. You're not touching it unless I say so. But there was the one guy or the 5 or 6 people who said it belongs to the world.
They walked away, literally. 2010, 2011, they just said goodbye. Like, I'm handing it over to you people. I'll see you. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it's like 800,000 Bitcoin are in Satoshi's wallet.
Yeah.
So 800,000 times, $45,000, $50,000, multi-billionaire, right?
And it's not like he walked away poor. He got his, but
the coins have never moved.
Right.
So there's literally, think of it like there's a bank account that has billions and billions of dollars in it, and that person has never gone and taken a single dollar out of the bank account.
Do you believe it's just a guy what do you believe he is?
I don't want to know. Right. I think the whole value of this is that nobody knows. Right. I'm sure Bitcoin Marty, he talks about it in terms of the Immaculate Conception.
Yeah.
Right. It's like nobody can argue against it. Nobody can say Satoshi was a right winger or Satoshi was a left winger. Right? Nobody could be like Satoshi was straight or gay or, whatever skin color. Like literally we don't know anything. And so then this Bitcoin thing ends up completely sidestepping the whole attack on who created it. Right. And I think that's if you just look at, I don't know, Wall Street Bets is a great example. Right. People got all worked up and confused as to who is Wall Street Bets? Was it the original founder? Did they walk away? Who are they? All this kind of stuff. And so it's just when you don't have that founder story there anymore, then all of a sudden it's just about, well, what's the technology and who's using it?
It's funny that he used Immaculate Conception because I almost feel like it feels like a religion in a lot of ways. I mean,
money is a religion. Yeah, the U.S. dollar is a religion. What is the U.S. dollar? Why is it valuable? It's because if I hand you $20, you and I believe that it has value, and you're willing to give me shit for it. So if all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to use fucking dollars anymore. I'm going to use Gatorade bottles, and I'm going to start giving those to you, and you're going to give me whatever I want and from a good or a service. Then all of a sudden, the Gatorade bottles became fucking money.
Yeah,
when
and
you go to prison, there's no dollars. It's cigarettes. It's like all these other assets that then become the currency. And so it's literally just a belief system. And now that has shifted from the US dollar, where a small group of people make all the money and get all the power, to now it's this distributed system where anyone in the world with an internet connection can play ball. And it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, or how much money you have.
It's just interesting too, though. It's like each of these coins kind of has their own ethos. And then there's disciples of each. You know, you guys are hardcore Bitcoin and there's the family of Hoge people, and it's like they're evangelicals. They're spreading the word of their coin, and that's where I think it becomes so much more interesting than just a currency and just an investment. Is that it's like, but so to go back to the idea of these people who just gave it away, like, I don't know. I feel like I can't buy that. There are people who created this, and it could, control the world, and they were just peaceful and generous enough to be like, it belongs to nobody.
The only people that are more obsessive than greedy people are the people that are willing to do non-economic things to take down the system.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
so
like
they just believe in the revolution, the cause, the
revolutionaries are actually the most obsessive, the craziest, the most fanatical. The next, in that rung of the ladder is the greedy people, the people who want to control the world, but they always fall victim. They are held, kind of victim to money, and money owns them. Money controls them. And so you can always know what a greedy person is going to do by looking at the financial incentive. But a revolutionary, you don't know, because they literally are willing to absolutely destroy the financial wealth that they could generate for themselves in order to accomplish the ultimate goal. And so there's some poetic nature to this idea of Bitcoin rising in global adoption, and literally the people who created it not benefiting, which is the antithesis of the legacy system.
So that's another thing, the adoption. At this point, aside from what I think Tesla was down, Bitcoin has been a very dark web thing, right? It's a lot of like when you're doing illegal shit, a lot, I think it's kind of, you and I can trade, right? But how many institutions are like accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment? I know when it comes to Doge, I think the Mavericks, you can buy tickets, and SpaceX is talking about it, but who's actually gonna use these crypto coins as currency and accept it in the future?
I mean, look, on the Bitcoin blockchain, there is this year going to be over $6.5 trillion that is transacted on chain. That's about 50% of Visa's transaction volume a year. So already Bitcoin has risen, and is about 50% of all.
But doing what? Like what?
Everything, literally, from paying individuals, right? Kind of P2P, peer-to-peer, paying businesses. Literally, I want to move my money from one place to another. Like, anything you want to do now, you can do without asking for permission.
But as far as who accepts it and who will use it as currency, P2P, of course, makes sense. But like, at this moment, it still feels more like an investment to me than like a currency where you can actually. I mean, how many of these coins are ever going to really be, I can buy something with it, versus we're just speculating on it going up and down and the internet value of it?
So let's just talk about Bitcoin, because that's the one that I spend the most time thinking about. It is definitely still today seen by majority of people more as a store of value and an investment than a currency. But in the adoption of a currency, you go from it being non-existent to then it's a store of value to then it becomes actually a medium of exchange. And that's when you have the full currency. And so we're already a store of value. Right? It's already $1 trillion asset. So people can't deny that. Now what you're starting to see is more and more businesses are accepting it. You're seeing more and more transaction volume on a daily basis. And so that's where you're starting to kind of move into a true digital currency on a global level. And so I think that's only going to accelerate moving forward.
Do you have any of these horror stories? Like, did you buy a fucking plane ticket somewhere for 15 Bitcoin or something crazy?
No, I actually, I thought I had completely missed it, but was relatively late. So in like late 2016 is when I first started doing a lot of this stuff. And at the time I was so mad at myself because I thought I completely missed it. Like
What'd
I
you get
literally
in
was like, oh my God, like all the people who were early were 2011, 2012, 2013. How could I have missed this?
Yeah.
Now I think people come in and like, oh my God, how did I miss this? Like the people in 2016, 2017, they were so early. And what you realize is just like, this is a multi-decade game.
Yeah.
Right. And
So we're
it's
still
just,
at the infancy of all of it. I feel like, I mean, I remember
think
thinking
Bitcoin's going to be
in,
$100 trillion asset in the future.
I got in at 19,000, I want to say.
All right. So 19,000, let's see if right now we are somewhere around 850 billion market cap. 19,000 is probably somewhere in the like $350 billion market cap, give or, depending on where exactly we are right now. And so from $350 billion market cap to just a trillion is about 3x. And then from a trillion to 100 trillion would be 100x. Now, that's not from a financial return perspective. It's just literally what happens when an asset is market expanding, right? Or a piece of technology is market expanding. That's how you actually get to any sort of real growth. And I think that's what's happening with Bitcoin.
Well, if you believe that Bitcoin's going to what's the number you put at it? Bitcoin's going to go to what?
I mean, depends on the time frame, right? So like I've said 100K by the end of 2021. I've been saying that for years. I think we're still on track for that. I've publicly said I think that it'll hit $1 million by the end of 2026 after the next Bitcoin halving.
I mean, that's not that far off to say that it's going to hit $1 million, you said?
Yeah, it's like 20x from here. It's really not that far.
I mean, but that's what's funny is you feel like you missed it. And it's like, well, if it's going to go to $1 million and you got in at 19,000 like I did, or even lower.
Look, I don't know what's going to happen, but what I do understand is that you've got a fixed supply asset. And as long as demand continues to increase, then the US dollar price has to go up to accommodate everybody. Right. And so it's just like, again, it goes back to supply demand economics.
And that's where you believe that the US dollar is just going to get annihilated.
Oh, I think I'm not the only one who believes that. I think everyone on Wall Street knows that. I think everyone in the government knows that. I think anybody who understands how the dollar works realizes that the US economy is addicted to monetary stimulus, and that stimulus is destroying the purchasing power of the dollar. 40% of all dollars in circulation right now have been created in the last like 12, 14 months.
Wow. Holy shit.
Right.
And is that something that used to be able to get away with more just because there was no Bitcoin, remember,
they didn't have this power until 1971. So up until 1971, the dollar was backed by gold. The only way to get more dollars was to get more gold. You had to go dig it up out of the ground.
Right.
But in 1971, when we came off the gold-backed dollar, now all of a sudden they could print whatever they wanted. And so if you really think about this, I mean, this is crazy to think about. The US dollar in its current format, in the fiat currency format, is only 50 years old.
Right. Mad.
Right. Like literally in, our parents' lifetime, they've seen the dollar be backed by gold to not being backed by gold.
Yeah.
Right?
One
So
generation
it's like,
removed. It's madness. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And so like,
is that if there was no Bitcoin, would inflation's always obviously a problem, but is it now going to become a real issue because there's something like Bitcoin to challenge it as the main currency? Is that going to kind of like double the influence of the inflation, where it's like, well, not only do we print too much, but now there's this other thing that people are going to use or invest or start to accept. So now we really fuck the dollar.
Yeah, look, I think that the inflation numbers, the inflation impact has nothing to do with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the solution to the problem, but the problem is irrespective of what happens, with Bitcoin.
And do you believe that the inflation of the dollar at this point has already like trickled down to your everyday life? Like I was talking with Feidelberg on the podcast the other day, and we were talking more about New York City, but we were saying, I can't go anywhere anymore without spending $100. You walk into a bar, you walk into a store, it's 100 every time. And, it used to be 20. Now it feels like it's 100. Is that, do you think that's an effect of this like hyperinflation that we feel like that is going on in the last, the 40% thing you just said? Or, has it really affecting your day-to-day life as we know it now?
Do you know who Tyson Foods is? It's like a $30 billion like food supplier company, right?
Yeah. The chicken nuggets. I eat the chicken nuggets. Yeah.
All right. So Tyson Foods reports, quarterly, they're a publicly traded company, has to report what's going on with their business. And last quarter, right, January, February, March of this year, the average product they sell, the average increase in the price of the product went up 7.5%.
Wow.
So literally every single product that they had on average, if it was $1, now it's $1.07.5, right?
Mm-hmm.
108, 107.
Mm-hmm.
And so if that happens in a 3-month period, and they continue to do this, even if it's not at that rate, even if it's at, a tenth of that rate, but they do it every quarter after quarter after quarter, eventually shit gets expensive.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And so literally that's what you're seeing happen is everything is getting more expensive around us, and the dollars that you get paid stay the same. Like that's the thing that people don't understand. If you get paid a salary and it does not get adjusted every year for inflation, you're actually getting paid less money every single year in purchasing power terms. And so when you have a dollar that is going down in value and the goods are going up in value, you're getting poorer. Literally, you're worse off this year than you were last year. And so what have you done? You are financially incentivized to get out of cash. And rich people know that means invest. Most people, unfortunately, the bottom 45% of Americans, they own no investable assets. So what do? They go buy shit, right? And they go and they frankly just waste a bunch of money. It's consumption. And so that's the big secret. That's the secret in America is there's half of the population or so that understands get out of dollars and actually go and invest into assets that will benefit from this. And then the bottom 50% of Americans literally either hold cash or they buy shit that isn't an investment and they end up suffering because of it.
And do you believe that like something like Bitcoin, does that eventually replace I'm talking way down the road, or maybe not, I don't know. Does it replace the idea of, is there ever going to be a fully global currency? Is there something, I mean, there's that finite amount of Bitcoin, right? So if it were to replace any sort of currency, you've got to still be able to buy and sell and purchase all this shit in the world, right? So the value of each of these coins would have to go through the fucking roof if it were to replace, or you'd have to make more, but it sounds like that's not really possible, right?
Can't make
more. That is truly done. There's never going to be another Bitcoin made.
Well, there's 21 million Bitcoin total.
Right.
And so more are coming into circulation every day, but we'll never have more than 21 million. And when you think about what has to happen, again, yes, it becomes more and more valuable. Now, Bitcoin, you don't have to go buy a full Bitcoin, right? You can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin. And so there's 100 million Satoshis in each one full Bitcoin, right? Think of it kind of like
that's like a penny on a dollar, right?
Yeah, 100 pennies, right? $1. And so similar concept. And so what's going to end up happening is you're not going to go to the store and be like, yo, I got one Bitcoin. Let me give it to you. Oh, by the way, a Bitcoin's $1 million. Right?
Right.
Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to show up and say, hey, I have, 2,000 Satoshis and I want to buy whatever the good or service is depending on what the price is. And so I think that like, we're just so early in this multi-decade game, but what we do know is that you cannot possibly continue to print trillions of dollars year in and year out with no negative consequences.
Right. What I'm sure the basic questions that you're sick of, but because you have such a good grasp on it, the idea of mining Bitcoins, like the 21 million, that's another thing where I think people the blockchain and the idea of mining is where I watch people glaze over. And I have, zero understanding myself, but even when I'm trying to explain it, they just are like, what? So, how does that begin? The first people, whether it was Satoshi or his team or whatever, mining a Bitcoin, putting it on, authenticating it with a blockchain, and then other people finding them, mining them, whatever it is. Give me the quick, easy, dumb it down explanation of that.
When Barstool wants you to do work, right, and come to work every day, what do? They say, hey, we have a financial payment for that, right? You're going to give us work. We're going to give you money. Right. And that financial incentive is work.
Mhm.
Now, same thing happens when you look at the Bitcoin network. The Bitcoin network says we need computing power to run, right? That's the oxygen of the Bitcoin network. And so because we are not centralized, right, where one company runs all of it, we need to incentivize people to run the Bitcoin software, to mine this network. And so the way that they do that is that they actually pay out every 10 minutes a Bitcoin reward, right? It's a financial incentive. Right now, the financial incentive on a daily basis in totality is about $45 million every single day. And so what people do is they go and they buy special computers, they plug them in, they run this software. And what it's essentially doing is it's running the Bitcoin network, right? It's trying to essentially allow for transactions to run through the network. And in exchange for giving that computing power to the network pays you Bitcoin. Now, you don't get $45 million every day, right? You get a small percentage of that based on how much your computing power is of the total makeup of the network. So if you got 1%, in generalized terms, you would get 1% of the $45 million each day. And so you can see very quickly how, there's amateurs and there's people who are like, wait a minute, there's $45 million every day, that we can go get. Let's go get as much of that as we can. And they go build these massive mining facilities and try to really professionalize it.
And what are you actually doing with mining? Is it coding? Is it what?
You literally used to be able to do it off your computer. Now it's specialized computers. But what you're essentially doing is you're turning energy into this blockchain, right? And what I mean by that is you're taking the electricity out of the wall. You're having it power a computer. That computer runs software. And what that software essentially is doing is kind of two different things is the way that I usually explain to people. One is it's trying to solve a complex problem to prove that it's a good actor in kind of the most simplistic ways. And the second thing it's doing is it's validating transactions. So I always use Monopoly as an example. Let's say you, me, and two other people sit down to play Monopoly, right? And every single game, we put all the money in front of us, right? So I can see your balance, you can see mine, we can see the bank, everything's transparent. And as we start to play, every time that somebody's got to hand money to somebody else, everyone at the table had to say, thumbs up. Yep, send the money, right? Well, all of a sudden, we don't need somebody else there as like the banker or the third party to be like, yes, KFC paid Pomp $10. No, it's just we see it all. It's transparent and everyone agrees. That's essentially what's happening in the mining process. But it's every 10 minutes, it takes all the transactions of Bitcoin, puts it into essentially a database. And then the miners are saying, yep, everything looks good. Yep, everything looks good. And it's validating the transactions. And then that's kind of attached to every other block in the chain, right? Blockchain. And that's how you basically get this computer network that has all these transactions, literally millions and millions and millions of transactions, yet doesn't have any sort of issues with fraud or anything like that.
So you were in it too late to actually, you never mined, right?
No, I started mining with Ether though, a different crypto.
Okay.
And then,
all right. So not Bitcoin, but like what occurs on your fucking computer when you mine some Ethereum?
Well, so most people,
when
they're
physically
doing this,
seeing numbers, I picture some matrix shit with, numbers and codes. And then all of a sudden it's like, bow, here's a bing, like a fucking jackpot goes off. You've got a Bitcoin. You've got some Ethereum. What actually physically happens?
By the time I got into it, it was actually like much better because all that I would do is I would have the GPUs, like same thing you'd use for like a gaming console or whatever, right? Was plugged in. And then I had a dashboard and the dashboard would literally be like, here's how much computing power you have. Here's how much Ether you've been paid in the past. Here's what you got yesterday. Here's what you're getting today. And it kind of looked like, I don't know, fucking Stripe or something, but like for like mining. So like, that's not very technical, right? I'm not a super technical person. So like, I wasn't like in the command line of the fucking computer, like writing code. In the early days, though, that's exactly what people were doing. And in the most sophisticated operations, that's exactly what they're doing as well. But I was kind of more of like an amateur, in terms of starting out, and it was super simplistic. And I had this dashboard that just made it dead simple to understand what was going on.
And would it be like a luck thing or like or a time thing, or is there skill behind it? Can I be better at mining than you could be?
You like from a technical standpoint, you could be more efficient.
Yeah.
So what that could mean is either the cost of your electricity is lower. So like, let's say you and I both get, 1 Bitcoin today, and you pay 50% less for your power than I do. Technically, you made more money than I did because your cost is lower,
less to make
right?
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. The other thing is you may have a better computer. So like, let's say I'm just using my laptop and you're using one of these specialized computers. You just have better computing power, more efficient, more powerful computing power to mine. And therefore you're more likely to get more Bitcoin than I am because you actually just have the better hardware.
And that, I guess that's where this whole the energy thing comes in. That's where Elon makes the announcement the other day with, was that Bitcoin? Yeah, it was Bitcoin, right? That it's environmentally not friendly. So just what do you have? These like computer farms almost that you just got a zillion of these computers all running 24/7 in order to find, but there's no more mining of Bitcoin. So what's environmentally the problem if you're not looking for any more Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to continue to be Bitcoin available as that Bitcoin reward until 2140.
So you still can't. I thought it was done. I thought
no.
So. There's
20 years there will be Bitcoin that you can mine, and then after that, the Bitcoin reward will be replaced by transaction fees. So when you use the Bitcoin network, you have to pay a little bit of fees, and when you pay those fees, all of the miners get a portion of the fees.
So so there's the finite amount out there, but they haven't all been found is the point right now.
Exactly. About 89% of the 21 million are in circulation, but the rest haven't been found or mined yet.
Got it. And so then the day that we've found all of them, mined all of them, then it's just the transaction fees is the incentive to continue to, if you're, what would it be called after that? If you're no longer mining to find it, what are you doing?
It'll still be called mining.
Yeah, but it's just a different form, right? Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
And is it actually an environmental problem?
No, not at all. Basically 75% of all miners use some form of renewable energy. About 40 to 50% of miners use 100% renewable energy. And so it'd be like, my favorite statistic on this is the United States, just the consumption of electricity for Christmas lights every year is more than some countries.
Wow.
Right? Like, okay, let's kill Christmas.
Say that one more time for people.
The Christmas light usage in the United States consumes more electricity than some countries. Like, we should cancel Christmas then.
Right.
It's bad for the environment. Fuck Christmas. Christmas is over. The Christmas lights consume too much power. No, nobody's saying that. That sounds fucking ridiculous. But like, guess what? That's Christmas lights. We are talking about the global reserve currency of the future. $1 trillion of value is being protected by the fucking Bitcoin network. And these people are out here yelling and screaming about the energy consumption. The US dollar system uses like 20x more electricity, and it fucks people. But you've got Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's actually providing people a solution, a way to protect their wealth.
Yeah.
You've got people yelling and screaming about the energy consumption. It's ridiculous.
So when Elon dumps it and says that, is that a PR move? He's just trying to.
He didn't dump it. What did he do
involving the environment? Like when he said he said
that they weren't going to accept Bitcoin anymore for cars, but important detail, fucking asterisk, nobody had bought a car with the Bitcoin already.
Right. I mean, it's like, we're no longer doing this thing that we've never done before. Okay. So why does he even, that's where it feels to me like he's doing some pump and dump shit where he's manipulating. It's just like, I want it to go up. So I say that we're accepting it and that we're going to build a spaceship with it. I want it to go down. So I'm going to say, you know what, this is environmentally unsafe and I can just play puppet master. Is that not what he's doing? Because that's what it seems like.
I don't know what he's doing, to be honest, at this point.
Yeah.
Is he doing something for economic reasons, or is he literally just a billionaire with a Twitter account who's just firing off tweets at whatever he wants?
Yeah.
Like, he one time, you ever see the I think it's the New York Times interviewed him, and they were like, would you rather be a billionaire or a meme lord? And he responded with meme lord.
I mean, that's the problem. See, that's what I like about Elon. Every other billionaire in the world, minus these like maniacs, like these sultans who are probably doing all sorts of crazy shit with their wealth. But what's the point of being a billionaire if you're going to be Warren Buffett? It's like, it doesn't even look fun, man. Like, what are you even doing? But Elon, he's like, I'm going to build rockets and fuck around on the internet. At least you're, doing what you should be doing with billions. but it is crazy
What's
to
the
watch.
point of having fuck you money if you never tell anyone fuck you, right?
Yeah, amen, man. What do you you mentioned the Reddit aspect of GameStop before. The latest thing I saw, because I thought one of the funniest, or one of the coolest things I should say, is when they dug up these Reddit posts from years ago that said, there's like, check out GameStop. There's something going on here where, like, if we play our cards right, it could go down. And all of a sudden people go back and see that one. The latest thing that I saw on Reddit was this guy calling his shot about Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos getting divorced. Have you seen that?
No, I have not, but not surprised.
Yeah, like this was the latest prediction. It said big company owners get divorced so that they have a valid reason to offload all the company shares before they fall into the next collapse. Bezos and Gates getting divorced means market collapses are coming very soon. This will then collapse the dollar and let them roll out of the central bank digital currency. Don't say you weren't warned. That was a post someone put up. And then there was some Reddit user who was like, don't, be on the lookout. Like, Bezos is getting divorced. Like, next up is probably Bill Gates. So would you put any stock in the idea of these aren't just regular old divorces? These are things happening based on the economic movement of the markets and all that kind of shit. I love these kind of conspiracy theories where nothing is as it seems and everything's about the bigger picture and money and all that shit. But how much do you think is really going on with these billionaire like villains pulling the strings?
I have no clue.
Mm-hmm.
All that I do know is that Jeff Bezos got divorced. He gave his wife $30 billion and he's still the richest guy in the world.
He made it right back. He made it right fucking back. He didn't miss a beat, man.
I saw that Melinda Gates went to an island as the divorce was being announced. It's $135,000 a night. And somebody said that if you're worth 70 grand, that's like you spending 17 cents a night for a hotel room. You could literally do it every day for the rest of your life and you still have majority of your wealth left over. Like, these people are so fucking rich. It is unfathomable. Like, $1 billion is a lot. Imagine if you had $200 billion.
It's crazy. And that, I mean, I'm not one of these people who thinks, the billionaire should fix all the world's problems. But sometimes I'm like, God damn it, man. You got too much. It's too fucking much. Break off.
You're hyped because Steve Cohen bought the Mets. You want to fix the fucking Mets? Get Jeff Bezos to buy the Mets.
I know. I was pushing for him. The Knicks have turned things around, but I was saying, Bezos, come in and make Dolan an offer he can't refuse and run that ship, man. That would be a scene. Cohen and Bezos together in the city. Wow.
They would have a pissing contest over who was richer, who was more powerful, who had a better sports team. It'd be amazing.
I mean, the fact
Can we
that
talk about Cohen real quick? And did he get bullied off the internet by Portnoy?
Yeah, Portnoy will take credit for anything he possibly can. I think
that wasn't a no. You didn't say no.
No. I think Steve Cohen got bullied off the internet. I think that Portnoy was kind of the spearhead of it. But I think in general, that was a dude. It's funny. And this is where I love the internet, because kind of everything I said earlier about the fact that it's revolutionizing investments in currency. But like, Steve Cohen, smartest guy in the room, 99.9% of the time, knows markets in and out, knows business in and out, knows art in and out, knows how to launder money, knows it all. He didn't know Twitter. He didn't know the internet. And I think he and his family thought like, hey, we own the Mets now. I've been in the shadows for so long. I want to mix it up with the people. I want to have some fun. And this Twitter thing seems like it's fun, and it's not fun, man. And I think he learned that the hard way, where it's like, no, everyone remembers what you said earlier. Everyone keeps receipts. And so you can't just be like, one day I'm going to talk about this and one day I'm going to talk about that. And if the Mets lose,
I think that if the founder of Barstool kicks the owner of the Mets off Twitter, that means that Dave Portnoy now owns the Mets.
Yeah, I'm sure Dave would love that little transitive property, no doubt. But that's why the internet is the great equalizer. The same way these, crypto is the great equalizer for the
when I see people mixing it up with you guys, I tell my friends all the time, when I see somebody start stepping up to anyone at Barstool, I immediately just want to text him and be like, dude,
Don't do it.
stand down.
Yeah.
This is about to be a crime scene. See something, say something. Like, do not mix it up.
Very rarely will we start a fight, but we'll almost always end it because people are just not. I mean, I say that we're the coal miners of the internet. You know, everyone always is like, well, you know, it's not like we're out here, you know, mining coal. It's a cushy gig. It's like, it's not. It's mental warfare, and we've been doing it for a couple decades now. So nobody can
just
step
ask
to
people.
us.
You ever memed anyone to death?
I'm not. I don't meme people to death. But we will just, you know, people don't know how to be funny while making the point at the same time. And, you know, when you're just like 3 or 4 steps ahead of someone arguing on Twitter, there's no better feeling where you just know they can't catch up, which, you know, I feel like is what again is happening in crypto, where it's like these old guys, they know they're old. They know the old money. They don't know the new way, and they're going to get eaten alive by not adapting.
Imagine being a billionaire going on the internet and having people literally not care and
Doesn't
just
matter.
Finger up.
Doesn't matter. You know, it's like I could have more followers than you, so that's what matters. I could be funnier than you, quicker than you. Your money does not mean a goddamn thing out here, and that's why it becomes fun. What are you doing with this Bitcoin for pizza? Is this, you know, this is your two loves, is Bitcoin and pizza. So we're just,
people are pissed. People are pissed. I love it. I love every second of it when they're mad.
what are they mad about?
You know, people would be mad no matter what I did. I literally could say we're launching KFC pizza and they'd come for both of us. So
yeah.
The whole thing is basically we said, look, we're going to partner with a bunch of local small businesses, go to this website, order pizza. They're going to make their normal pizza. They're going to put it in a Bitcoin pizza box. They're going to deliver it to you. The small business still makes 100% of what they normally would have made. And then we charge, you know, $2 to $3 more usually. And we're going to take that profit and we're going to donate it to the developers of Bitcoin. And people are literally mad. There's people who are telling me that I'm doing a cash grab, or they're saying, fuck you. You know, like, I'm like, wait a minute, hold on a second here. Literally, there are $0 coming to us.
Yeah. I mean, what?
Because you know why we're doing it though? One, we're going to help some small businesses. I enjoy that. We're going to help Bitcoin developers. I enjoy that too. Yep. But there's nothing more than I love than rallying up the Bitcoiners on the internet and having them have a way to give the middle finger to the system.
Yeah.
And these people are so pissed off that we figured out how to do this because we're in 10 cities. We're going to sell 10,000 pizzas this weekend. And we're having more fun on the internet than anybody else. Maybe it's Barstool and Bitcoiners. Those are the people who have the most fun on the internet.
Yeah, man. And to extend it beyond just Bitcoiners, like once I bought into Hoj, I have this new internet family. These guys are the most loyal people in my life. I got people on the internet who I've never even seen their face. You fucking
shilling me Hoj right now?
No. I'm shilling you the internet family. Like I don't care what Hoj does. We could go to the moon. We could go to the fucking basement. Everybody has my back. And on the internet, that's a valuable thing, man.
That's very valuable.
I could use it these days. I got people who just they're all of their fucking avatars are the little dog head, and they're fighting for me. Someone makes fun of me about my divorce. Boom, Hoj sweeps in. Someone's talking shit about the Mets. Hoj sweeps in. I mean, these guys, I don't give a shit about the profits. I've just got myself a new family, man.
What's the saying? Men will buy Hoj instead of go to therapy.
Yeah. Absolutely, dude. Who needs friends when you got Hoj? It's great, man. Oh, I appreciate you breaking it down. I'm sure these are annoying questions for you on your level, but even as much as this has as popular as this has gotten, I know, you know, very smart people who are still like, I just can't wrap my head around it. So a lot of this makes a lot more sense talking to a guy like you. So I appreciate.
They all eventually capitulate, and you know what they say? They say everyone buys Bitcoin at the price they deserve. So you want to be a fool and not pay attention, knock yourself out. Eventually, you'll jump in.
And you got what? You rich already, or are you gonna be rich? How much are we talking?
I'm out here slinging pies, man. I'm trying to just sell a couple of pizzas, you know, just try to fucking figure out how to help everybody out.
So what's that? Where can people find that? What's the website or the handle? Where do we drive them for that?
Just go to eatbitcoinpizza.com. And no, every time you buy a pizza, you help a small business, you help a Bitcoin developer, and you piss off somebody who wants the virtue signal on the internet. It's fucking win-win-win.
A win-win-win all around. And what? Pompliano on Twitter is the main where you do your main work on social?
Yep. Just trying to have some fun on the internet.
Have fun and get rich, man. That's the name of the game. So I appreciate it. And just before we sign off, you can give your official seal of approval on Hoj and tell all the people to go buy it, correct? Yeah, go ahead.
All right, KFC, man. Great
Go ahead,
talking
go
to you.
tell 'em. All right, thanks, man. Have a good one.